in February. And so I was following from the beginning, and really at the beginning of March, what I did was I reached out to Pima County Health Department and my colleagues on the Pima County Board of Supervisors. At the time, my dear friend who just passed away, Chairman Richard Elias, and I really said, we need to partner in this, we need to work together. And beginning of March, we had a press conference to inform the community about the dangers of COVID-19 and how easily spreadable it is. And so we had Dr. Francisco Garcia, other partners, health partners at the press conference. And of course, we went through how important it was to follow the CDC guidelines. We also saw in the Bay Area the first calls and the first executive orders and proclamations from mayors and counties to limit gatherings, to close down entertainment venues and bars, limit restaurants to pickup and delivery only. And so when I started seeing that, I believe the city of LA went first, which was they made their call and their executive order the 12th or 13th of March. The Bay Area went on the 15th or 16th. The city of Flagstaff made their call on the 16th of March. That day, I had a gathering with restaurant owners, hotel operators, and entertainment venue, other people that might be affected, Monday the 16th. And they really said, we need your leadership. If you made the call, we will follow, but we need to have it uniformly. And so I went to bed that night thinking I have to act because the 17th was St. Patrick's Day. And so I came back to work really early in the morning, called my team, called the city manager, the city attorney, and I said, today's St. Patrick's Day. If we let the community gather, there were many, as you all know, St. Patrick's Day activities planned. If we don't make the call by 5 p.m., these activities are going to go forward, and the possibility of the spread will intensify. And so that day we huddled up with the city manager, city attorney, my staff, and we put together my first emergency proclamation, which really made the call. And it was very hard for me to make that call because I knew how it would affect bars and entertainment venues and restaurants. But I had a very good group of business owners that said, you lead, we will follow, and we will help. And so we did that. And then started immediately communicating with the governor's office to see what they were doing. We jumped ahead. We jumped a few days ahead of the governor in making the call, but immediately started working with his office to see what the statewide plan was going to be. And so since then, we've had to change the emergency proclamations. I have preferred to have a uniform policy throughout the state. And so I've tried to stay within the executive orders that the governor has given all of us, because I see value in having uniform policy throughout the state, but sometimes diverting. And that's okay. I think that every city and county around the state is looking at the spread differently. There's different cases throughout the state. And so some municipalities need to be much more careful than others, but that's what happened. So we've changed the emergency proclamation. The first one was on the 17th. Then we came back in April to extend it. We've had to come back in May 15th, and then the last proclamation that I did was extended to June 8th, where we opened the city of Tucson government in phase 1. So that's the trajectory of what we've been doing in the city of Tucson.
Very good. Well, you had a set of priorities, I'm sure, for your first year as mayor. How have those been reprioritized as a result of this pandemic, and what are they?
I ran on a platform of working to lift all, right? I want to make sure that we have a clean, safe, sustainable city with economic opportunity for all. That was my motto. That is my motto. And my platform that I ran on was climate action and sustainability, economic development and job growth, infrastructure investment, investing in youth and education, safe and vibrant neighborhoods. And those are still my priorities. That was my platform when I ran. Those are still my priorities. Priorities have shifted in that we had to pay attention immediately to the urgency that we have in front of us, which is COVID-19. And of course, really close behind, and maybe at the same level, is our economic recovery. And so I've always been very interested in economic development. I think it's an amazing, holistic topic that includes all of the issues that I just spoke about, public health and safety, investing in infrastructure, investing in education, creating policy in city government that makes it easy for businesses not just to start, but to thrive in our community. And so the economy is something that I've always had an interest in, and I want to make sure that we push ahead, because as we're dealing with the emergency and urgencies in front of us, we have to make sure that we're planning for how the city of Tucson will invest in and stimulate our local economy. And I've just put together an economic development advisory council for the mayor. I have many distinguished members in that council, including your new board member, Carol Stewart, which is the president, I believe. I don't know if that's the official title of the tech parks, the U of A tech parks. I have Dr. Hammond as part of me, George Hammond as part of my advisory council.
Southern Arizona Leadership podcast with us tomorrow.
Oh, good. I needed him in that council, and so we have a small group that represents many sectors in the economy in the advisory council, and so we're paying attention to that, but yet not letting go of the other priorities that I listed earlier.
Well, we'll have lots of questions about economic development. I'm going to go to some of the audience questions now. You talked about equality for all. One question is, has there been any talk into looking into citywide solutions to deal with internet inequality? I think one of the things the pandemic has really brought to bear is the fact that people don't either have access to laptops or broadband. And I think the superintendent of public instruction said 100,000 children. So is there anything going on in the city of Tucson to deal with that?
Yes, thank you so much for asking that. I think quality public education is very important for economic development and business creation and innovation in our city and in our state. And so just recently, I gathered superintendents in the school districts in Pima County and the city of Tucson, and Pima County Superintendent of Public Instruction, Dustin Williams. I had Sunnyside, TUSD, AM5, Flowing Wells join me, and I really wanted to ask them, what is it that you need right now? Maybe the city of Tucson can partner. And I'm really glad that I did that. I've always been interested in conversation and working in partnership with others. I don't believe that we should be siloed. And so in that conversation, a lot of opportunity came out. And so as you might be aware, the city of Tucson received $95.7 million from the CARES Act. Last night, the mayor and council gathered and decided to invest more than $22 million in investment in community. And part of the investment that I advocated for is to invest $750,000 in Wi-Fi connectivity around the city, especially in areas that are dead zones. And then we are investing $1.2 million in the city of Tucson's after school and summer program. It's called KidCo. And in being able to expand those after school opportunities in partnership with the school district. So in other words, Sunnyside and TUSD have already been in partnership with Tucson in our KidCo after school program. But AMFI in this call said we want the opportunity to have after school sites in our school, as well as flowing wells. So what we need to do in order to partner with school districts and expand our after school program, we need to find more KidCo sites because of the limitation of children and adults that can be in one room, and the precautions we need to take in terms of physical distancing. And so what Sunnyside Superintendent Steve Holmes suggested is, like, why doesn't the city of Tucson have a KidCo sites where kids can come to school Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesdays and Thursdays they can go to KidCo all day, but we can send our music teacher, our PE teacher, and our art teacher to help you fill the curriculum those days that they're out of school. So those are the conversations that we have to have, and those are the investments that the city of Tucson is prepared to make. I also want to take this moment to thank our business partners that have really stepped up. Comcast and Cox Communications have been absolutely amazing in offering Wi-Fi services to low-income families for the connectivity, and many of them as well providing laptops for children that didn't have the access. I know that Arizona Tech Council also is working on providing laptops for that digital divide situation. So thank you all.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. The Tech Council's been doing a lot of advocacy around clean energy, alternative energy, electric vehicles. And as you know, we're developing an electric vehicle industry here between Phoenix and Tucson. A lot of my board members are on today, and I won't mention names, but this is from a board member. You mentioned sustainability as a key part of your platform, and economic recovery is now a key priority. Is Tucson doing anything to attract and support tech companies focused on sustainability solutions?
Well, I have wonderful news first and foremost before I answer that question. I just received a call from Senator Martha McSally, and then later on I received a call from Congressman Raul Grijalva announcing to the city of Tucson and to me personally that the city received an additional $3.7 million in FTA funds to expand our electric bus fleet in the city of Tucson. And this is in partnership with TEP that is going to be providing additional infrastructure so that we have charging station for our buses. It's been a good partnership. The city of Tucson received $3.5 million before. And so I just wanted to announce to everyone, we just received the good news yesterday. And we're super happy to be expanding our electric bus fleet here in the city of Tucson. I want to give special recognition to the University of Arizona Tech Parks in their work. There is a report put out last year, 2019, by CBRE that the tech industry in Tucson grew by 90%. Creating more than 1,000 jobs in the city of Tucson. And so that credit has to be given almost completely to the University of Arizona Tech Parks because of their diligence in attracting talent and investing in innovation. And so I plan to continue our work together with Carol Stewart, the University of Arizona, and the tech parks, so that we can create policy in the city of Tucson. Besides all of the economic investment development tools and incentives that we have in the city, I want to be much more thoughtful of how the city of Tucson will help not just attract, but create and innovate right here in the city of Tucson. And so I think it's important that we have very specific policy priorities as a mayor. That's why I think it's valuable to have Carol on my advisory council, as well as other super brilliant people that can bring ideas for policy to the table.
Very good. By the way, Tucson is increasingly becoming noticed around the world as an innovation hub, and it's getting moving up in the rankings all the time, and that's really exciting to see. So this is another question from the audience relating back to the sustainability issue. It says, is the city of Tucson actively participating in Tucson Electric Corp's integrated resource plan? How congruent is the city's climate mitigation plan with TEP's IRP? Pretty technical question.
It is the technical question, but fortunately, I know this. We have not. The city of Tucson has not participated in TEP's strategic plan, and I think that's unfortunate. 2019, there was a lot of activity in terms of campaigns and a lot of movement. We have a brand new mayor and city council members, and so we have not had the opportunity to take a look at that plan. I would love to be able to take a look at that plan, and I know that TEP is working with the University of Arizona and with its input and direction. And with the city of Tucson, I've talked about creating a climate action plan that as well brings in the University of Arizona and Arizona State University. I also want to take this opportunity to announce that for the first time, I think, in the history of the mayorship in the city of Tucson, I've reached out to both ASU President Michael Crow and U of A President Dr. Robbins to partner in creating a climate and sustainability policy advisor for the mayor's office that can tap into the resources from both ASU and U of A. And so it is a partnership in hiring a climate advisor and sustainability advisor for the mayor's office that will be paid from the three of us. And so it really is a position to bridge research from both outstanding state universities, ASU and U of A, to bridge that research into policy creation for mayor and council. And so Fatima Luna joined my staff a couple of months ago, a little bit before the pandemic hit and we had to send everyone to work from home. So the climate action plan is just in its infancy, and we will be working diligently with City of Tucson department directors, but also with community representatives.
Very good. By the way, the podcast I mentioned, the one that is coming up in June, has all three university presidents talking about the future of higher education, particularly given what's happened in the pandemic. So a lot is changing, as you know. So the next audience question actually combines two of questions I was going to ask, and it's from another board member who's from Tucson. I am on the AMC, the Arizona Mexico Commission, and wonder your views on trade with Mexico during the pandemic. And I'll extend that to say, what about trade in general? The tech industry in particular is a trade-oriented industry. I think 1/3 of all of our trade is from semiconductors, about 20% is from aerospace and defense, much of which is in Tucson. So how has trade been impacted in Tucson, and especially the relationship with Mexico?
Well, I think that trade in general is very important for the state of Arizona and for our country. The importance of our partners, both in Canada and Mexico, Mexico being the #1 trading partner with Arizona, is super important for the city of Tucson, which we see a $2 billion investment from Mexican visitors and investors yearly in Pima County. And so I think that we need to continue cultivating the relationship that we have, that the responsibility of elected officials are to help with policy that eases the trade relationship with our neighbors, both to the north and the south. What I can say is that I met, when I first got elected, I met with Governor Ducey, and both Governor Ducey and I feel in our conversations that that economic development in our relationship with Mexico and the trade possibilities and the investment that can be done, not just in U.S. companies in Mexico, but Mexican companies bringing them to Arizona. And so that is something that I'm looking forward to continuing our conversation with Governor Ducey and I. And of course, being a bilingual, bicultural mayor of Tucson, and having done missions, economic development missions to Mexico before, both Mexico City and Sinaloa and Sonora, I see a value of the partnership with the governor and the city of Tucson and myself to really ease in the sometimes tensions, especially with COVID-19. I know that Mexico, the guidance from the president was different than what Canada and the US did in terms of supply chain. And so those tensions are difficult to deal, but the relationship building that we can build, both Governor Ducey and I, with Mexico, will help create policy that will help continue to see trade grow in Arizona, and especially here in Tucson.
I think the governor has really done a fantastic job at cementing relationships, particularly with Sonora. He has a very close relationship with the governor there, and he's been to Mexico City many times. This is a related question, again, from the audience. What is the impact to the city of Tucson from the border closures, and how are you dealing with the increased social pressure?
Well, we are seeing a diminishing sales tax revenue from the border closing. Like I said previously in my answer, Mexican visitors and tourists leave $2 billion here in revenue in Pima County, and the city of Tucson enjoys a lot of those sales tax generated from that. And so that those restrictions have hurt us in terms of revenue. I know that throughout Arizona, border cities are suffering from that closure. And so we have been seeing a little bit of lift in those restrictions, but it's hurting our economy. And I can't say we're unique. It's hurting. COVID-19 is hurting every city throughout America, every town throughout America. And so we've got to make sure that, once those restrictions, whenever it is safe to lift, that we take the necessary precautions, but that we lift some of those restrictions. So some of the Mexican visitors and tourists that come and do their shopping, they really do. They come to Tucson, do their shopping, that we can do that. But it really has to be in a safe way, because border cities and towns throughout Arizona, are still suffering from COVID cases exploding. We just saw that in Yuma, Arizona, where I'm from originally. I just saw a 2,000% increase in COVID-19 positive cases. And so we really have to make sure that we take the precautions necessary, that we take this very seriously, and that even though our economy is absolutely important, that if we don't flatten the curve and take this under control, our economy is going to continue suffering because people will not want to go out. And if we see those spikes going up, then we're never going to be able to take control of the public health first and foremost, and then opening up the economy. So we have to be very careful, and it's hurting. It's hurting our economy, it's hurting our border towns, but we have to be very careful because this is going to be happening throughout the time until we find a vaccine. So we don't want to find ourselves where we have to shut everything down again in order to take control of any spikes forthcoming.
Well, we're going to go in a new direction. As you know, the governor has put us into really phase one of the economic recovery. And this next question from the audience really relates to that. He says the majority of discussions on returning to work have focused on customer-facing businesses. Do you have any advice for small technology businesses as we reopen our doors and slowly reintegrate our employees?
I do. I think the tech companies have been hip to telecommuting and teleworking for many years now. And so I think that tech companies have been able to just follow what they have been doing forever, which is letting their creatives and their workers work from home. And so we, the government, actually have been learning from these tech companies, not the other way around. And so I'm very happy with what small, locally owned and big tech giants throughout the country have been doing, which is basically sending all of their employees home. I believe Google announced that they are going to keep most of their workforce at home, telecommuting and teleworking. And so in the experience of the city of Tucson, we had to adjust, very quickly. And so since March 17th, we transitioned most of our workforce, not our frontline workers or paramedics and police officers, but most of our workers that were doing office work into teleworking. And in my conversations with the city manager and looking at how successful we have been able to run the city with telecommuting and teleworking, we are in no big hurry to come back. We've been successful, and of course, our frontline workers and essential workers have been having to show up, but we've been running the city very smoothly, providing the essential services, public safety, fire. Our paramedics have been in the front line of this pandemic. Our sanitation workers and water workers, we have been able to run the city smoothly, keep things safe, keep neighborhoods safe, and yet more than 50% of our workers are teleworking. So we're in no hurry to bring employees back if they've been doing their work successfully. So we have been learning from small, locally owned business companies in that fact. What I would recommend, if small businesses are going to gather back, that they be creative with how they split their employees, that they don't have employees in big groups working together, that if the employee cannot provide their own face covering or mask, that they do that for them, and just following CDC guidelines and science that have shown us that it is the only tool we have right now to combat this pandemic.
Very good. Well, I'm going to ask one of my questions now, one that's very important to me and to the Tech Council. What are your goals around becoming a smart or maybe smarter city? Smart cities are growing up around the country. The former mayor had many initiatives around becoming a smart city. What is your strategy plan for making Tucson smarter?
One of the things that excites me is this particular topic, because we need to create the cities of the future, not just the cities of now. And so we have to look at how we're running our city with a technology lens, and make sure that we are creating smart city technologies with everything that we do, right? How can we create smarter technology for the city of Tucson to provide its trash collection and recycling? How is the city of Tucson going to partner with our technology providers? We have, the city of Tucson has miles of dark fiber that I'm looking into how we can leverage it into resource. Also, transportation and mobility department, right? Transportation and mobility is a incredibly easy way to start moving into smart city technologies. How do we create a list for potential infrastructure investment for the Regional Transportation Authority RTA2 package that the region is talking about now? Building projects that include smart city technology. Also, the city of Tucson has created an open, we're using an open government platform. And Tucson Water is also using new digital platform to get smarter. What I'd like to make sure that we're moving immediately, and I know that the city of Tucson has had plans, mayor and council have approved, is that we invest technology to move traffic and make safer crosswalks and intersections in the city of Tucson. The technology exists, and the city of Tucson has to start moving immediately so that we are smarter in how we move cars, pedestrians, and bicycles, and make it safer for cars in our city. Also, we have jump-started the city's smart city team to report on objectives met and metrics established on what has previously been implemented in the city of Tucson. There's so much opportunity, and especially now that we've had to move from our desks into working at home, and the investments that we have made in buying technology and laptops and the like for our employees. We also have, just last night, the mayor and council decided to vote on investing $3 million on additional technology and cybersecurity investment. I think it's $3 million that we decided to appropriate for smart city technology and cybersecurity for the city of Tucson.
Excellent, excellent. You spoke earlier about the creation of companies in Tucson as opposed to the attraction of companies. You know, both of those things are, of course, needed, but this question relates directly to that. What is the city of Tucson doing to help startups to ensure that we can continue to innovate and grow?
Well, this is exciting because what we've done and what I've been asking for the city of Tucson is that first, we didn't have, for a very long time, we did not have an economic development director in the city of Tucson. We just attracted wonderful talent. Barbara Coffey is our department director there. What we've asked the city manager and the economic development director to do is to create small business navigators and to facilitate the creation of small locally owned businesses here in the city of Tucson. We created a new website for usage of small businesses in the city. And these small business navigators will, the plan is to connect anyone that is wanting to open a business in the city of Tucson will connect with a small business navigator, and that person will help them navigate our system from getting a business license to answering questions in terms of what are the resources out there for lending, what are the resources out there for training. And so we want to use these small business navigators and make sure that they are armed with the information on how to help innovators and small locally owned startups with the city of Tucson. I also want to make sure that we're partnering with small companies here, listening to the needs of what they have, and start creating policy that will help them in their process, help them stay here. We already have about 21 incentives that the city of Tucson provides. Most of these incentives are for larger, either construction related projects or bigger companies with a primary jobs incentive program. We need to create an incentive program for small locally owned businesses, and that includes startups. And so that's part of the work that lays ahead. That's what I ran on, but hopefully with the help of my Economic Advisory Council, we will continue creating these policies that will incentivize opening businesses and startups here in the city of Tucson.
I might suggest another person for your economic development team. Joanne McMaster runs the Desert Angels, which is an angel investment group, and they support the startup community in Tucson and around the state, and are one of the most prolific angel groups in the country on an annual basis. So they know the Tucson startup community very well and could be a good resource for you. One of the questions that's coming in from a couple of folks is about tracing. What is the city doing related to COVID-19 for tracking and tracing people who have come in contact with someone who has COVID-19?
The responsibility of public health is a responsibility of the Pima County Health Department. They are a public health organization that provides advice and services to each and every resident of Pima County, and that includes Tucson residents. Saying that, there's a couple of things that I've been doing to make sure that we have good, solid communication with Pima County and its health department. I've gathered area mayors, and we've been doing this since mid-March, where we had daily calls, and most recently we've diminished them to twice a week. But our area mayors from Oro Valley, Marana, Sahuarita, myself, and South Tucson gather in a conference call. We've invited Pima County Administrator Chuck Huckleberry and Dr. Francisco Garcia from their health department to just update each other and talk about the details and the logistics involved with this pandemic. And so saying that, the city of Tucson realizes how important testing and contact tracing is. And so Vice Mayor Cunningham and I just, must have been 2-3 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, time flies. And 2 weeks ago, we submitted a proposal for our colleagues on the council that requested the city of Tucson invest $4 million in testing for our employees, their families, and then try and open it up for the community. We also, in that proposal, want to work with Pima County Health Department, with public health providers, and the University of Arizona leading the way Dr. Carmona with their efforts at the U of A as to how open back responsibly. So what my goal is that we have a coordinated effort in the city of Tucson, U of A, Pima County, and area healthcare providers like TMC, Banner, El Rio Clinic, and St. Mary's, and that we organize ourselves and partner up to have a strategy, a well-defined strategy as to how we're going to go about the testing, how we're going to help Pima County ramp up their contact tracers. As of last week, they only had about 27 contact tracers, and for a county of our size, we need more than 100 contact tracers to do the job that we need to help control and mitigate the spread of COVID-19. And so we need to work together. This is for the benefit of our residents and for the benefit of our economy. So we've started a first dialogue, the first conversation, the first meeting was held last week, and we will continue to figure out not just the urgent strategy that we have to do now, but what is the long-term public health strategy to take this under control and move ahead with a healthy community.
I think what you've just said answers this question, but someone had asked you to comment on the fact that Phoenix has 4 times the population, but has done 6 times more tests than Tucson. And, you know, this is a concern being expressed, but it sounds like that's the strategy you have to begin dealing with that.
Yeah, many people don't understand the division of labor amongst jurisdictions. And so there is an Arizona Health Department, there is a Pima County Health Department that provides all of the public health services for residents throughout Pima County. And so what we have heard from Pima County Health Department is that the supply chains for the testing equipment has been very, very difficult throughout the United States. As a matter of fact, I was listening to NPR this morning, and that supply chain and even the labs and the mechanism, the machines that are used to go through in the labs for testing, that has been difficult, and it will continue to get difficult for the foreseeable future. And so it is not, I don't think it's because Pima County has not wanted to do the test. It's because the entire country has had issues with supply chains. And now what we're seeing the backlog becoming is the machines used at the labs to do the tests and get the results done. And so very unfortunate that these supply chain issues have been happening. But the city of Tucson is committed to investing $4 million in community testing and testing our employees. And so we're trying to move that as quickly as we possibly can.
And of course, President Robbie Robbins has the U of A initiative for testing all the faculty and students, which the governor has mentioned many times as sort of a model. So, by the way, we just met Emiliano in the background.
Oh, thank you so much. No, yeah, no, it's the University of Arizona is such an important piece of the puzzle when it comes to these public health issues. I've had the privilege of having conversations with Dr. Richard Carmona, who is now leading the task force for the University of Arizona. And I've pledged to Dr. Robbins that in order to be able to have a well-coordinated effort, that our partnership with the U of A is very important, and it's key. And so we're very happy to do the testing, and I know that we've talked about the antibody testing as well. So all of these pieces of the puzzle are super important when it comes to finding solutions for our public health.
So this is an interesting question. And this comes from someone I know is from the aerospace industry. It says, we all watched with excitement yesterday the attempt to return human spaceflight from US soil. Does the recent shuttering of Vector launch in Tucson close the door in any way to space exploration and innovation for Tucson and Arizona in general? I haven't answered that, but they would like to hear from you.
Tell me your answer.
Well, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of other Tucson companies, especially, working in this space. There's a space council that is organized in Tucson. So I don't believe it does. It is too bad Vector Launch didn't make it. It was an exciting opportunity, but any comments on that?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you 100%. I don't think we're done. I think that the city of Tucson, especially our geography and our environment is very important. Because it fits right to play space exploration. And so I think we're not done. I think it's only the beginning. And I do also feel very bad that Vector filed for bankruptcy and is no longer there. But I think that there's companies popping up in Tucson, Arizona, and this is where really this area specifically, space exploration, is where we could really thrive in the city of Tucson.
Yeah, our board member from the U of A, Dr. Stephen Fleming, actually heads that Space Council, so keeps us briefed on what's going on. By the way, there are a couple questions about what incentives that the city of Tucson might provide to grow the tech industry. You talked earlier about 21 incentives that you had, many of them for larger construction projects. You talked articulately about the startup community and so on. What else can you tell us about your economic development strategy? You said you have a passion for that. You've talked to the governor about it. Anything that we haven't touched on about your economic development strategy?
Yes, what we need to do that the city of Tucson has not created is smaller incentives for startup companies, tech companies. And so that is an area that we need to explore and that we need to create policy for. So far, we created the primary jobs incentive, which is, like I said, for larger companies that are creating a certain amount of jobs that pay a certain amount of money, provide health care, and are investing more than $5 million in building. And so we provide an incentive for that. We forgive impact fees and reinvest those impact fees into the company or workforce development for the company. And so what we're doing right now, because of the pandemic, is that we created in the city of Tucson the We Are One Somos Uno Resiliency Fund. And that fund is works in two ways. One, I'm trying to fundraise to put investment into nonprofits, small businesses, and workers and their families affected by COVID-19. So we're fundraising, asking for charitable contributions for the We Are One, but we're also working with the Community Foundation for Southern Arizona. We've created a fund, funded $3 million for workers and their families so that we can provide grants to families affected by COVID-19. We put $3 million into small business, 0% interest loans. That was $1 million. And then $2 million for small business grants, small locally owned business grants, so that companies, small locally owned companies, can apply for that grant. It's a forgivable $10,000 grant. that will help them through the difficult economic pain that small businesses are feeling right now. And in the future, we're hoping that that we can create that policy in the city of Tucson, those incentive strategies to help the smaller locally owned startup or tech companies or restaurants or any type of business in the city of Tucson, because when we incentivize and invest in startups, in small tech companies, that's when we get the investment from those companies. And as they grow, they stay loyal to the community that invested in them. And that's what I want to do.
Well, that's music to our ears. Thank you. By the way, someone corrected me. It's not called the Space Council. It's called the Space Business Roundtable. And it just so happens our board chairman, who's on the call today, will be their speaker at the next meeting. So I have one more question for you. We're closing in on the hour, and I know you have to be off at 10 o'clock sharp. One more question, and then any final comments from yourself. What are the ways the business community can partner with the city on technologies to help revive the economy after COVID-19?
This is the part where I hear from you, because even though I've had many years of experience as an elected official, I know a lot about a lot of things, but it's like a foot deep and you guys go more than 6 feet deep. And so I see you all as a resource. That's why it was important for me to surround myself with economic development experts and business owners in my advisory council. My door is always open for advice and feedback. You are the experts. I need to hear from you what you can help the mayor of Tucson and the city of Tucson improve and invest in, and what policy we can push forward to be able to provide a good business environment in our city and focus on an economic development strategy that is diverse and that focuses on where we are already a hub of activity for. So I would want to hear from you what you can provide, what resources and information you can provide the mayor's office, because you are the experts. And so I would want to hear from you.
Well, I'll solicit anyone on the call today to provide input to me. And now that we've met Elaine, we'll funnel that information through her, your economic development lead. And one last comment, and then your final remarks. Someone mentioned, and this is really important, besides U of A, which is so critically important to Tucson, the Pima Community College is an extraordinary partner with the Arizona Tech Council and does incredible things in workforce development. And Lee Lambert is just a great leader. So another great partner for you in Tucson.
Yes, and I have created a partnership with Pima College. I am really impressed by Chancellor Lambert. They have created these centers for excellence throughout the Pima College system, and I'm looking forward to where else they go. We just saw that Governor Ducey and the Arizona State Legislature invested $15 million in our aerospace partnership with the Pima Community College. They have had amazing partnerships in workforce development, really taking minimum wage employees here in the city of Tucson, giving them amazing technological training, and by the end of their programs, they're earning $60,000 a year with benefits. So the value of Pima College and what they add to our community is absolutely amazing. And Chancellor Lambert and the board, the governing board at Pima, have been amazing partners, and we will continue to work with them. So yes, we're rich in resources here in the city of Tucson. I am looking forward to continued partnership with the U of A, with the U of A Tech Parks, with Pima College, and with so many others. Startup Tucson is a wonderful resource for startup companies as well. And so I'm looking forward to that continued dialogue, that sharing, information sharing with each other. And look, I am a progressive at heart. And how my dad defined progressive is that it is people progressing together, moving forward, and investing in each other to progress as a community. So I want to see us succeed as a community. I want to see us progress. I want to see infrastructure investment in our city and investment in businesses and startup companies and innovation. And so that excites me. And really happy that even though we've been stopped by this pandemic, the work will continue, and my priorities we will continue moving them forward with your help, hopefully.
Mayor, I can't thank you enough for your time today. It's been a great dialogue. Thank you for spending so much time with us. I know you're busy during this time. We very much appreciate it. We look forward to being a good partner with you. And I want to thank the audience for joining us today, and remind everyone that all Tech Council events can be found on aztechcouncil.org. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Day. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.